welcome to this week's edition of The Week That Was, where we reviewed the top content published on whatelectricalnews.com throughout the week. A jilted fly-in fly-out worker who posted revenge porn pictures of a former girlfriend on his Facebook page has been ordered to pay her almost $50,000 in damages. The former worker at the Cloudbreak mine in the Pilbara posted 16 sexually explicit photos and 2 videos of then-girlfriend after she accused him of cheating and dumped him via text in August 2013. The female sued, alleging breaches of confidence, claiming the post was intended to inflict mental harm, distress, humiliation, loss of self-esteem and embarrassment. A US judge says energy giant BP faces a maximum fine of $13.7 billion for the 2010 Gulf of Mexico oil spill. A fine of up to $18 billion had originally been set as a possible penalty based on government estimates that 4.19 million barrels of oil had been released into the Gulf. But US Federal Court Judge Carl Barber said on Thursday that the penalty should be based on only 3.19 million barrels. A final penalty will be determined at a trial to settle an exact sum. Last week, the fall in unemployment rate brought some good economic news, but as always seems to be the case, it was tempered by the quarterly vacancy figures, which shows life is pretty tough out there now for those looking for work. Indeed, as tough as it has been for more than a decade. While a fall in the unemployment rate is to be welcomed, the reality is that it's currently harder to get a job than any other time in the past decade, and even harder than during the GFC. Last week, the ABS also released its quarterly job figures, and these showed a slight increase in the number of vacancies from August to November, and a 6.7% increase in vacancies in the past 12 months. While this would seem to be good news, the number of jobs available remains well below what is required to cause the unemployment rate to fall. So the fight for jobs looks set to continue, and alas, despite a nice improvement in some measures of the unemployment rate, it doesn't look to be getting easier anytime soon. Falling oil prices could have a negative impact on global efforts to develop renewable energy sources, experts have warned. Participants at the International Renewable Energy Agency conference that opened last weekend said the trend could spell doom for plans to shift to clean energy. Oil prices have fallen by almost 60% since June, crashing on worries over global supply and weak demand in the faltering world economy. A worker has died at a mine in Western Australia's Pilbara region. The Department of Mines and Petroleum on Tuesday confirmed the fatality occurred on a mine exploration lease, which is part of the Consolidated Minerals Woody Woody mine. Consolidated Minerals released a brief statement confirming the death of a contractor and said police were contacting family members of the deceased. The victim is believed to be in his 60s. Australian mining giant BHP said it would shut down 40% of its US shale oil rigs by the end of this fiscal year. This announcement from BHP follows news from US oil services giant Baker Hughes that it would fire 7,000 employees, and said it expects the number of current oil rigs in use in the US to fall significantly before the end of the current downturn. Halliburton, who agreed to merge with Baker Hughes last November, also said that it expects cutbacks to be in line with competitors by the end of the quarter. The government has hit out at power workers this week following a request for an 8% pay rise. Workers at Ausgrid and Endeavour Energy average about $110,000 a year, which can include a $129 weekly allowance just for passing safety rules, and a $4.83 dirt allowance if they are deemed to engage in unusually dirty or offensive work. They're also able to receive meal break allowances and $53.14 a week paid because workers suffer from conditions relating to heat, dirty work and working in confined spaces. The Electrical Trades Union is battling the government's plan to sell 49% of the electricity poles and wires, and it's also seeking an 8% pay rise for workers over the next 2 years. Google has unveiled new plans to invest in 2 renewable energy projects worth more than $1.5 billion. The first project, undertaken by the international search firm, consists of a $76 million investment in a wind farm in Oklahoma, and that project is expected to commence operation by late summer. The second major project involved by Google is a solar financing agreement which supports a 140 megawatt Red Hills solar power plant in Utah, which is worth $157 million. The total investment kept aside for the plant is estimated to be $188 million. The plant will be owned by a joint venture formed by Google and Scatec. In addition to that, Google's also providing $145 million in equity financing for Regula Solar Plant, which is developed by SunEdison. An information security audit by New South Wales Auditor General has found that traffic signal networks managed by Roads and Maritime Services could potentially have been hijacked, leading to traffic disruptions. The audit was conducted to find out if the systems used to operate critical infrastructure in the New South Wales traffic signal network and Sydney Metropolitan Water Supply are secure. The audit found that cybersecurity controls were only partially effective when detecting and preventing security breaches. Chevron has struck a deal to supply natural gas from its West Australian Gorgon project to South Korean giant SK Group. The US Energy Group will sell 4.15 million tonnes of liquefied natural gas to the industrial conglomerate SK over 5 years from 2017. Chevron did not reveal the deal's value, but the plunge in oil price to a 6-year low has driven down the price of gas also. The deal offers security for Chevron, which previously committed to selling a sizable 35% of its volume share of Gorgon into spot markets rather than long-term customers. There is now proof of coal seam gas drilling under family homes in Sydney. Maps from gas company AGL obtained under Freedom of Information laws show suburban tunnels extending by as much as 2 kilometres underground from wellheads. The state government had restricted coal seam gas exploration to no closer than 2 kilometres from residential areas, but says it's powerless to do anything about drilling already underway. And that's it for this week's edition of The Week That Was. Thank you. Hello and welcome to The Week That Was, where we reviewed the top